Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my current usual suspects, as Tom Hughes is still poorly or busy, trying to recover before he goes to Las Vegas, Barry Stokes and Scott Williams. Shout out to Tom if you are listening to this, which you probably still won't. Hope you're feeling better. Scotty, how are you doing today?
Good, mate. Good, yeah. Feeling good. Feeling happy, yeah.
Good.
Going on a little holiday tomorrow, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, not jealous at all. Not jealous one little bit. Barry, how are you doing?
Oh, good. That's all I can say, really. I haven't got sickness and diarrhea like my wife, so that's all good.
Shout out.
I thought you were taking a page out the Elise post-match interviews there. I don't know if anyone saw that.
No,
it
was like talking through the goal. Zaha passed me and I shot and it went in.
Is that what he said? I didn't see that.
Do you think he deserved to win? Yeah.
Well, like a Wenger. Yes. No, didn't see it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today, and thank you to everyone who's listening. We're recording a day earlier than we normally do because, Scott's jet setting off to America. So, just want to give you all a shout out, and please follow us on All in Football Pod, All in Football P on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to the channels of where you get them from. And thanks for participating. Manager of the Week for the second time this season. Congratulations to Neil Ladd. Manager of the Week from Game Week 1 and Manager of the Week Game Week 15. Game Weeks 2 through 14 haven't gone great for you, Neil, though, to be fair. But in between, but those two results are fantastic. And you've definitely got more Managers of the Week than I have. But 77 points. Great week. Pope in goal, Trippier, Castagna, Trent and Young, Ødegaard, Saka, Almiron, Salah captain, Haaland and Jesus. So I don't think you've touched your team for a little while, Neil, because you've still got De Silva in there as well. So it's players like that, but still 77 points. Well done. And when we're looking at the leagues, it's the shortest Manager of the Month competition for the season. There we go. I couldn't even find the league then in front of my own eyes. And when we're looking at November, we've got a few people in the running for Manager of the Month here. Gavin Webb, one of last season's contenders, had a great week, 71 points. Liam Ormsby, 69 points. Jack Alcroft, 68. Pod Team, 65. We would have had even more if the website hadn't crashed. Shout out to FPL 15 minutes before the deadline. What a joke. Sort that out, Jesus. Chris Clegg, Sandeep Unjan, and there's even me there in ninth. So
what you should do, Alex, is listen to the podcast last week and listen to your own advice about late transfers on a website.
I know. The thing is, right, life and busyness got in the way for me this week. And I thought, well, do you know what? I'll log on because about 10 past, quarter past, make sure I get them done. And the site had already crashed by that point. Anyway, the way it is. I got my transfers done, but I couldn't get the pod teams. They just kept refusing and refusing. But that did us for a few points. But still, at the same time, we did have Salah, so we were quite fortunate this week. Couple of things to clear up off the back of last week. So we talked about suspensions. The only person who got suspended was the walking yellow card that is Dalot. He's going to miss this game week, but that does make him a fantastic option for game week 17 onwards, though, because United have got a great run of fixtures. Looked at that for the first time this season. I had a really quick look at the fixtures after the World Cup, and United will definitely be having at least one of those assets in our team, I'd have thought. But Dallow's going to be missing game week 16, but Mitrovic didn't play. Quite strong rumours around that he probably could have made it, but he didn't. But they didn't play him because they think there's a better chance that they're going to beat Man United. That's actually quite a strong rumour that they rested him because he's been playing injured for a while and they didn't want him to miss the United game, but they didn't want to play City. Jesus, Kane all got away with it. João Cancelo got sent off to I think the disappointment of 2,500 managers in the top 10k who captained him this week, which is really funny. But he got sent off, but he's not going to miss game week 16 because of in fact, it was a straight red card, and it's only a 1-game ban. He serves it in the Carabao Cup midweek. So don't worry too much about Cancelo. And a lot of people, 206,000 managers have already transferred out Cancelo because they obviously don't know that piece of information. And if you're going to transfer out Cancelo when they're going to play Brentford at home next, who have one of the worst away records in the league against City, who have like the best home record, you're making a mistake. So don't do it. But all those 206,000 people who are obviously all listening to the podcast, sorry for insulting you. And not great. Injuries, players like DCL and Mitrovic, they're all got flags on them. And there's a few other people in there, I think Coutinho as well. But, we don't need to talk about Villa. This week, it's really straightforward, lads, isn't it? It's 1 week. 1 week, and then we get unlimited transfers where apparently the prices are still fixed. So this podcast is all about the 1 week punts. Who are we going to go for this week? Whoever you bring in this week, it doesn't matter because you can get rid of them next week. You can get rid of all of those other useless pieces of crap that have been in your squad for 16 game weeks. I'm talking to myself, and then you can freshen up your squad and have the same team as everyone else and still not catch up. Lads, City, Brentford, pretty obvious. Haaland's back. He's going to be the captain, isn't he, Scotty?
Well, yeah, you want to get yourself checked out at a hospital if you don't make him captain. He's going to be probably starting this game. He's not even any possible. He's obviously not going to the World Cup, so there's not even any doubt about Pep for some reason resting him on the back of that. I know it's yearly kickoff. And if that fixture is reversed, I feel like there'll be a few doubts. But City at home, point to prove after just scraping through Fulham last week. Absolutely. I don't think you'll go far wrong with captain KDB potentially, though. I don't think it's massive. I don't think Haaland's in ridiculous form, obviously, is he? But I think, we're going to see a lot of Haaland caps. I think Man City is going to take a big chunk of the captaincies. But there's obviously a team coming with a man back in form, which might take the mantle a little piece.
They're playing Chelsea midweek in the Cup, so on Wednesday. So just a lot of people have been talking about like Foden's and Mahrez's and all the sort of stuff as 1 week punts. I think simply just check out the team, and probably whoever plays midweek probably won't play at the weekend generally because they're going to rotate the squad heavily as much as... I wouldn't be surprised to see Haaland still get a few minutes against Chelsea. Just because I feel like if he has been injured and they want to, it depends on what happens with his injury, doesn't he? But I'd be absolutely shocked if KDB's in there. So don't mind that as a captaincy pick. That's going to take up all your City places. You don't want any Brentford assets, especially not Ivan Toney, who's still getting investigated for his betting scandal or whatever it is, isn't he? So that's risky business. So you want to stay away from that. Honestly, I think if he gets suspended, they get relegated. I can't see anything positive coming from that Brentford side. Other than that, they don't get enough goals, and they have one of the worst away records in the league. Bournemouth, Everton, lads. Bournemouth, the first team ever in Premier League history to blow 2-2 goal leads in a row.
4 goals, don't they? So if I had a one week punt, Marcus Tavernier or Dominic Solanke, they're probably the only two. I'd like to say Kiefer Moore, but it depends if they play top. He's in and out of the team. But that's who I would go for if I had punts, them two.
Well, it's Tavernier's 4.9, I think, is he? In terms of value.
4.9, 0.2% owned.
Really good differential. It's a weird fixture, this one. There's quite a few of these sorts of fixtures during this week where like Bournemouth have not a great home record. When I was looking at the statistics, they're one of the teams that's got 8 points, 2 wins. They've only scored 6 goals actually at home this season, but they are playing Everton, who have one of the worst. And I've said they don't have one of the worst away records. That's just checking my notes. They've got 6 points. They have only won once away from home. That was it. They've only scored 5 goals. So it feels like it should be low scoring. But the way that Bournemouth's last 2 games have gone, I'm not too sure that they will be. one of the great games of the season, that, for all the Leeds fans listening. Somervilles and Nonsos. Very, very, very good. Jesse Marsh, marching on together, marching all over the world. Jesse Marsh for the president. Scotty, anyone in this game? Your little man Iwobi or Gordon? Anyone you think? Gordon got dropped, didn't he, last week?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought any of them. I would say just because midfielders are so stat these days, and I'm looking at people probably going to have Iman Toners and potentially Mitrovic, who are playing Man United. For me, I think if you're going for a punt, that striker option is there. So potentially Dominic Solanke. Mm-hmm. But, he's screwed me over in the past in a different situation. So he's also dead to me.
But I think you're right there. Yeah. Good bloody Dominic. But
he did well this week, didn't he? DCL.
Yeah. He's going to be missing next week, probably injury as well now, isn't he? But they Philip Billings, the only other player I think he's looked really good this season. If for a midfield option, somebody else you could go for there. But yeah, in terms of strikers, replacing Mitrovic or a Tony, Solanke's the best option from that game. Let's talk about one of the other 3 o'clock kickoffs. So Liverpool were back with a helping head from Eric Dyer, but they beat Spurs, which is a really good result. I think one of the only times Spurs have lost twice at home this season to Liverpool and to Newcastle, but they've won all the other games. But yeah, Liverpool, managerless Southampton, matter of time for Arsenal lost his way, didn't he? Obviously, Mo Salah, discuss. He's back, 8 goals in 7 games. Scotty, thoughts?
Yeah, he's not just back. He looks back. He looks like he's getting there. He's getting. I feel like I say copy and paste his speech every week, but he's getting involved. It feels like more in dangerous positions. He seems to have that confidence. That second finish was so cool, calm, and collected. Like it looked on. He made it look really easy. But actually, he had so much to do in that position. I think he was absolutely fantastic. I must say last week, and he's certainly getting back to his best. Obviously. Egypt are going to the World Cup, I believe, aren't they?
Oh dear. I think no, I don't think so.
No,
they're not.
Not going.
Didn't they lose to Senegal in the playoff?
Him or Mane? Yeah. Mane are going. Yeah,
they lost in the playoff to Mane, didn't he?
All right. Well, yeah, he's obviously going to be wanting to prove a point at the weekend. Then, so that's I'm going to see him in action for about a month or so. So. Yeah, he's an absolute option for me. You take a coin out your pocket, and would you rather have Salah against Southampton or KDB in the early kickoff against Brentford? It's a tough one for me. You'd like them both, but
one of the questions that came in this week was, would you bring in Salah for KDB this week? And I wouldn't be taking KDB out my team personally this week. But I think the long story short is, do we think in a 1 week off, like Haaland's your captain, KDB versus Salah, KDB at home against Brentford, Salah at home against, and I'm talking, let's say, would you make that transfer? If you've got the luxury of having that transfer as your main, and if as your only thing you need to do, then you can do. I think it's incredibly close, but what would you do? Who would you pick? Blank canvas, free hit team. You can have Salah or De Bruyne this week. Salah at home to Southampton, De Bruyne at home to Brentford. Who would you pick? Barry, because Scott's definitely in deep thought there. Salah?
I'd have Salah, yeah. Like what Scott said, he's looking loads better, and plus he's playing down the centre as well. He's like in between centre and on the wing. Núñez is more on the wing. Obviously, Firmino drops deep, and then Salah goes into the vacant hole that's there. So for me, Salah's obviously more attacking, and obviously the stats in front. Obviously, Alex has got on. It proves that he's getting more in the box, he's getting bigger chances. His XG, it's all going positive. Obviously, he wasn't doing great anyway, so anything was a positive, really. But yeah, for me, I'd definitely get Salah in.
Scott?
Yeah, I agree. And it's a couple of tiny factors. It's 3 o'clock kickoff against a 12:30 kickoff. I honestly, I think it's a big thing. And also, 1000% bar injury, he's playing. They're so injury stricken in that forward position anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas there is still that doubt. We never can trust Pep Guardiola. There's still a chance that now KDB gets dropped that game or gets rested or whatever, for whatever reason. So, yeah, I would lean on Salah.
It's interesting because I completely agree with both of you. If I had a blank canvas free hit team, Salah would be in instead of KDB. If that's because I would have Kane, Haaland, and Salah as my premium this week, and I'd have those guys over KDB. But if there's another to answer the question directly, there's another transfer in your team which you think is going to get you a return compared to something that isn't going to get you a return, or if somebody is going to blank, if you're only going to field 10 players, that's an obvious, you don't waste it on this. But if you've got 11 players playing, you have to use that substitution on the weakest link in your team really this week. If your other option is De Bruyne against Salah, free hit team, Salah over De Bruyne for me. But I wouldn't waste the transfer on De Bruyne to Salah.
It's not worth. It's probably not 4 points, isn't it? Is there? If you think about it, and then taking that hit.
If you have the luxury of obviously not taking a hit for it, and you're happy with the rest of your team, and there's no other transfers you'd want to do, then yeah, do it. I think, but don't waste on that. You can probably do something better with it, I think, in terms of answering the question direct. And the statistics that I brought, it was Salah first game weeks 1 through 7 and Salah game weeks 8 through 15. He was creating more chances. He was getting more final third passes. He was actually getting a few more touches in the box in the first 7 game weeks of the season. But in the second lot of 7 or 8 game weeks, but it's sort of 7 because there's only played 7 matches, he's having a lot more shots. He's having more shots on target, more shots in the box, having more big chances. And his expected goals is a lot better. I mean, his XG was 4.7 in total compared to 2.3. It's 0.67 a game versus 0.38 of what it was before. So it was coming. The statistics were there that he was going to get back into it, and he's obviously a world-class player. But it's now based in returns. And when you look at his fixtures from, again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, we're going to do this after, but Villa, Leicester, Brentford, and then Brighton, the 4 fixtures after Unlimited. It's going to be hard to look past him when he's fully rested, not playing in the World Cup, being in everyone's teams, especially if he bangs against Southampton. So, but yeah, Salah, he is the man. Other options for Liverpool, yeah, you can have punts on Darwin if you want to, but again, he's a striker option. Any other people from this game, lads? I mean, I assume there's no Southamptons in your lists, but
no, Firmino for me.
Firmino, okay, all right, yeah. He's playing sort of a little bit deeper at the moment. You still think that
suits him? That suits him. I think he likes to get on the ball. He was like a deep lying forward, where you got Salah that can come in from the flank, and Firmino just drops in and obviously creates stuff from it. He's got another potential big haul for this game, I reckon. So we know he can do it, but will he do it? It's worth a 1 weeker.
If you've got some slight gambling issues, I know you say slight, you could always take a punt on a Liverpool defender. Southampton are boring as hell. Can't imagine them potentially scoring past you. Get a Trent in just for a sweat.
Again,
Trent
I think
Robinson,
it's a great shout because Southampton away from home have only scored 4 goals this season in 7 matches.
Crap.
They have conceded 12. They're going the wrong way. And I think if they didn't sack Hasenhüttl, I think he would be, we call at the beginning of the season, I think Southampton were in a relegation battle. So something needs to change there. But yeah, completely agree.
The thing is on Southampton is I feel sorry for him because he got loads of half decent defenders in, but then forwards, they just went, we're not signing hardly any forwards. Signed obviously 2 lads from Man City that were young and inexperienced in the Premier League. Obviously, they got a rebound, but they didn't get an out and out centre forward. You pay Adams, not going to probably get you 8 goals. Obviously, Armstrong probably not going to get you a lot either. So that was the issue. They needed a centre forward. They needed to replace Broya, didn't they? And
well, Broya was supposed to come in and replace Ings. We're supposed to replace Ings, wasn't he, Broya? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, they've just never replaced Ings, who was someone who put the ball in the net. He just did a sideways move to Villa, and it's just very weird. I mean, obviously, it's hopefully a progressive move for him now with under Emery's, etc. But he didn't play, did he, against United? But anyway, I think conversation for another day. I think we don't touch Southampton for this week, and Liverpool. Yeah, you can go. Firmino from Barry's perspective, obviously Salah's the obvious one. Nunes again can be somebody. I think those three are obviously going to play by the sounds of it. And then you had someone at the back and they keep clean sheets. If you need a goalkeeper, Alisson's your man. If you like, a lot of people still struggling with no keepers this week if they've had Kepa and Iverson or whatever before. So Forest Palace. Barry, you watched the Forest game or the highlights of the Forest game, didn't you, the weekend?
Yeah, where I live, obviously, it's dominated by Forest fans and Mansfield Town and people like that. But Forest fans, they were all getting on their high horse, saying, "No, we should have had at least 3 penalties and all this." But now I don't think any of them really was a penalty, to be honest. Obviously, Dennis could have been sent off for a potential stamp. Because obviously he's just fallen over and he's reached out and he's stamped on obviously his foot. Morgan gives white. Ben Mees moved his leg away, so there was all limited contact. The penalty that was given is because Henderson's hand was going towards the play. I think that's the only reason why that was given by VAR. And then the other one with a little touch in the back. Every defender does that, puts their hand out to touch him. You've seen it in Spurs game with Trent Alexander-Arnold on Sessegnon. Arms out, just a slight little touch. Yes, it does look like a shove in real-time motion, but every defender, obviously I've played in every position possible, but majority in defence. You always stick your hand out to obviously know that you're there. And obviously that's what he's done, and he's felt the contact and gone down. And for me, I think none of them should have been a penalty, but I see why the penalty was given for Brentford. But yeah, that's my take on the VAR situation because it all happened at City Ground, to be honest. There wasn't really a lot anywhere else.
But Forest are an interesting team, aren't they? I think you never know who's going to play for them. Neko was back again, the boy, and Gibbs White kind of played in like a false 9-10 position, didn't he? According to the,
he looked really good as well.
Okay,
he looked like, because obviously I've seen him when he were at Swansea, and he looked really, really good. He looked like he was on it, and he was in obviously like a false 9 position, and I think giving him the free role, and I think that's what Gibbs White needs, is one of them. A bit like what obviously Lingard at West Ham, but it's a bit of a luxury player, and I don't think Forest can have that luxury. They need industrial players up and down, like your Yateses and people like that. But yeah, he did. If you got a punt, Morgan Gibbs White looks a decent punt on that one for me.
I agree. 0.3% owned, didn't he? Sorry, go on. I cut you off about your Palace then, Baz, because your signal went. Sorry, I heard you say Morgan Gibbs White was a good shout, and I was like, yeah, he's 5.5 million and 0.3% owned. Palace shouts from you.
Elise and Eze, obviously, I think majority of people's are half. So yeah, they would do that. Probably look at.
You never know who's going to play. That one you didn't come in for Forest now, did he? And then Brennan Johnson started again after he'd been out, but he then played 90. Dennis was on. And it's all
the ultimate trap.
He really is a trap.
Gonna assist.
He did. I do think when you come down to the punts, though, I agree. I think you if you're going for anyone in the Forest team, it's Gibbs White. That's who I would go for anyway. When you're looking at Palace, for an example, Edouard was injured, but they didn't play Mateta. They played Zaha and Ayew and Elise. So again, it would be someone like Elise, 5.4 million, 0.2% owned, great impact. Even Eze, 5.7 mil, 4.4% owned, slightly higher in terms of ownership. And if you've got real gambling problems, if the injuries are still there for Edouard, looks like Jordan Ayew is going to play. And he's got a return in him, the lad. 0.2% owned, 5.3 mil, played 90 minutes, and did get a yellow card against West Ham. Scott, Spurs, Leeds, your thoughts, punts, Spurs?
Spurs will be the main man. Gimme a ginger from Sweden.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Honestly, if I could get him in this week against the Leeds team that don't know how to defend, be amazing. He's definitely going to start. He clawed them back in that game when he came on. He was the best player on the pitch when he came on versus Liverpool. They've really missed him. The starting game's way too slow as well. Spurs, and giving the other team a 1-2 goal lead every single game. So for me, obviously, if Kane, if you've not already got Kane, would be one. But Kulusevski coming back into the team, I'd be worried. I wouldn't be punting on any Spurs defenders this week. They looked a bit shaky, and this Leeds team, they can't defend, but they can score. I wouldn't be going on any Spurs defensive assets. Leeds, you can certainly roll the dice on any of a few of them. Really, Rodrigo, Somerville, a couple of them, to be honest with you. Aronson, is he back in now? Yeah. I mean, if you wanted a little gamble, I mean, Spurs away is a tough fixture, so I wouldn't personally go there. But yeah, out of that fixture, the ginger Swede sticks out for me.
There's a lot to be said for Leeds at cheap assets. Like Greenwood at 4.2 million as a striker. I mean, I know he's playing in central midfield for them, but he seems to be still getting some minutes. So if you are structuring your team and going, after unlimited and looking to go 3-5-2 or 4-4-2, and Greenwood be the person who's sat on your bench, and you're looking at rotating the fifth midfielder with a fourth defender, for an example, and you want to go Kane and Haaland, he's a great enabler. Somerville is 4.4, is he? I haven't even double checked that. It might have even gone up now. But I looked at him, 4.4 and 0.5% owned. His last three returns are 6, 7, and 13. So don't get me wrong. Again, I wouldn't suggest Leeds assets this week, but that's just a touch on them. A lot of Leeds fans listen to the podcast, so I wanted to make sure I'd addressed that point. Spurs 100%, Scott. Top of my list for midfielders this week was as somebody who people might not have thought of as much as the obvious KDB, Salah. Kulusevski was top of my list. I think he looks like an essential keeper. 3.8% owned. That's the statistic I was trying to find. And he's essential to that Spurs team because they just look way too negative without.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's the branch between defence and counter attack because Conte just plays so defensive and he needs that outlet, and that's what he gives. And whilst he's been out of the team, they haven't had it. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely. He was the one that I was picking as well. And obviously, when Scott said his man, I thought he was going on about Højbjerg again.
But he's probably going to play it. You never know. You could put him in. He's cheap if you've got a cheap substitution. But Spurs
5.5 million, 2.6 owned.
They've scored 17 goals in 7 home games this season, conceding 8, 5 wins, 2 losses, and those 2 losses are to Liverpool and to Newcastle. So they're doing well at home this season. They were the last 2
as well, weren't they?
There were 2-1 in both of them. But
there was the last 2 home games as well. So it broke your place if you wanted to. I wouldn't get rid of any Leeds assets, but I probably won't bring any in. But quite vulnerable at home.
Yeah, I agree. West Ham, Leicester. Leicester have been looking very good defensively. I've forgotten the statistic. They didn't keep a clean sheet in the first 7 games, and I think they've kept like 5 clean sheets in the next 7. And one of the goals they conceded was that ridiculously incredible free kick by Kevin De Bruyne. And then the other game they conceded goals in was 2-1 to Bournemouth, which was such a random loss from 1-0 up, wasn't it? What a random loss that is. But Leicester have looked pretty good recently. West Ham, a little bit tepid. Lads, anyone from this game you think? And I think this game could be anything, really.
Yeah, it's one of them you can't predict, really. Ben Rama scored an absolute worldie.
Great shout by us.
Ben Rama again.
Great shout by us.
Scamacca, no. I think Antonio is going to start So I'm definitely getting Schumacher out of my team, even though I wanted to bring Kuleveski in. But yeah, it's quite hard to pick. Really, with West Ham Leicester, it's a coin flip, isn't it? Really, that one.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Maddison's the key man at Leicester at this very moment in time, isn't he? Harvey Barnes is returning half decently. Anyone from this one, Scott? Anyone out there that you think maybe?
It's not bothered me that game. Not
Like,
bothered.
Your
I don't think.
Well,
I think defensive wise, they're both
Well,
obviously Leicester are ridiculously good these days defensively. Like they're both all right, but they're not like obviously Barnes, Maddison are amazing, but again, West Ham away is a tough fixture, so I'm not that bothered about getting them in. West Ham, meh at the minute. So as much as I like the players, it doesn't entice me for a 1 week punt. If Leicester had a few nice games coming up, and I wouldn't be worried about getting Maddison in for his first game to be West Ham away. It's not like Man City away, but for a 1 week punt, I'm not bothered.
It's I think striker wise, it looks like Daka is the man that's starting at the moment. So you're just never doing this transfer. But I was clutching at straws for strikers, and I think Antonio and Daka might be the players that start. But again, I probably wouldn't touch this game. So judging by my record this season, should get them both in. I think. Newcastle play Chelsea, which is a very tasty fixture. Newcastle Almiron's run continues. Cannot stop scoring, the lad. I mean, he nearly fell over the ball when he took it around that player as well. I did see that goal, but then put it in. Everything's going right for him at the moment, isn't it? And he's playing so well. But from a 1 week punt perspective, because we could talk about this game, it's probably one of the highlight games of the weekend. Live on Sky at 5:30. But is there anyone here that you'd actually really bring in for this week in this game? Because it's a no from me from both sides.
No from both sides.
I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, as much as it's a great game, we'll move on because we've got Wolves against Arsenal. So we've got the worst, one of the I think it's the second worst away record in the league versus the second worst home record in the league versus the best away record in the league.
I want to top of the league.
Yeah, unbelievable, honestly. Get your words right, Al. It's the sunshine in the background for me. It's not making me go crazy. Getting too hot here in the window. That says you, Barry. You're getting sunstroke from the sun in the background from me.
Yeah.
Wolves, yeah, they managed to score twice still and lose, which is entertaining, which was really great for my dad's double that he had on because he had Brighton to beat Wolves and then they came back and won, but then that last minute Forest goal screwed him over because he had Brentford in the other double. He was very upset about it when I asked him about it before. He thought he'd won and then he turned it off and the goal was 90+6, so he didn't know he'd bet and come in. Wolves, Arsenal, yep, Arsenal assets. The obvious Saka, the main person at the moment in the front three. If you haven't got Martinelli, it's cheaper to bring him for a week. I mean, Jesus looks amazing, but he just can't put the ball in the net at the moment. So in terms of form,
does he look amazing? Because your job as a striker is to put that ball in the net. So I actually disagree. Everyone's banging on about Jesus looking amazing. I can look amazing running around the pitch and like trying to bully a few players. But my job as a striker is to score goals. So for me, he's gone past that point of looking amazing now. He's actually getting annoying.
You see, well, I agree to this, brother, because I think in terms of a link-up play and the way that Martinelli and Saka are trying to get beyond him and the way that he's bringing other players into play, and he has contributed 2 assists last week. It would have been a third if Reece Nelson had put it in. Like, he is contributing to the team and to the game in terms of his pressing from the front. He's leading that, and that's sort of setting off everyone else behind him. He's helping create the chances. He has got, like I say, a number of assists this season. I get your point. He's not put the ball in the back of the net.
He missed an absolute sitter at the weekend. An absolute sitter for one of the best strikers in the world. I personally think he's getting too much credit.
5 games in a row with no goal. So
I'm just going to say, I'm just looking. You can carry on. I'm just seeing who he's got as many goals as.
Nunez has got more goals, hasn't he?
Nunes scored 4 in a row, didn't he? But I think, again, like I say, Jesus I wouldn't bring in this week anyway. You'd be looking at Saka out of the front three for Arsenal if you're going to go for any of them. And again, like Martinelli as well as, but you'd go over him. I don't mind Ødegaard as well as somebody who's a bit of a differential jacker if you need someone cheap. They're all looking good. But if you need a defender this week, this is where I would probably be looking for the budgets and the value defenders, because you know that someone like Ben White's going to play. So from a transfer perspective, if you are struggling, he is 4.6 million and 8.7% owned. So if you need to get somebody in and you can only afford him, then bring him in. But Gabriel at 5.1, Saliba at 5.3. Again, if you're happy with the rest of your team and you want to bring a defender in, I'd be looking at these guys, you know, Saliba, Gabriel, as a solid going to start option, and probably could get a return from set pieces. The review of the game against Chelsea, I mean, I saw bits of the match, but it was it felt like that was a big statement from Arsenal this weekend. I mean, you watched the game, Scott, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched the game. Yeah, they were the better team from start to finish, much better. Chelsea hardly created anything all game. Arsenal dominated the ball, dominated the game. They're absolutely flying with confidence. You can see it all around the pitch. I think Ødegaard's been one of the best players this season. I actually didn't think he had a great game. And I think that he didn't have a great game. And there's still other players around them performing. Thomas Partey, Xhaka, I thought was fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. He nearly did a very Granite Xhaka thing at the end and getting himself into a giddy situation, but he didn't. And yeah, I think they could have had a few more. Martinelli had a couple of chances you expect him to take, which is frustrating as a Martinelli owner. Yeah, I'm still not convinced. I think I've said it in one of the groups. If we're sat here at the beginning of February and at least 3 points off the top, title contenders for me. Not now. They've done this so many times at the back end of the Wenger years, where they've been top around this time and just fallen off. So it's a marathon, not a sprint this season. So let's see where they are come end of January, and then we'll go from there.
It's when it gets for me, Arsenal works out. I had a look at the fixtures, like the schedule for the rest of the season, because I feel like they've got through in the Europa League. So when it comes down to the European football, if they're still in it, early March, like that's when you're going to start to see they've got a game a week, extra 2 games a week, if they're still later in the latter stage of the Europa League. And if they're going to get a bit further in the FA Cup, maybe that's where that squad's going to get really, really stretched.
They've got to invest in January. If their owners are backing them to actually be contenders, they've got to invest in January. Obviously, right now the title contenders come January, they're going to be title contenders because there's 2 games left, 3 games left until January.
Yeah,
they've got to invest. I will say Saliba, wow, what a player!
Yeah, looks very good. Great management to send him out on loan and bring him back in, give him game time. It just
great manager. Great manager.
Yeah, that's where I'll definitely. I'm just not convinced on Arteta at all. But you have the all or nothing thing. I just felt like it was. I felt like everyone should have just been wearing like some sort of Arteta for president pin. To be honest, it was a bit. I found it really cringy. I didn't like it at all. But anyway, listen, he's getting good result out of this team. He's doing well. This is where, and everyone like Gary Neville said, everyone's got a right to doubt them until they deliver something, which I completely get. But it has to be said that they are clearly the second best team, clearly in the league. By far, if not the best, because they're top of the league, but they're clearly second, like over everybody else at this very moment in time. But Arsenal against Wolves, this is where Wolves have finally got a new manager, guys. I wonder how much they have to pay that Lopetegui to actually take.
Yeah.
Didn't he say no twice? He's not actually got it.
I mean, I'm guessing that the backing him in January is, for me, you can say I think it'll be give him a bit more money, but also say, look, we need backing. I think Wolves are one of the richest clubs in the Premier League, so they should be backing him.
Aren't they going to use the Ruben Neves money or something? Apparently he's leaving, but he's been leaving all the time.
Going to Man U, is he?
Again, still. Yeah, another one. Yeah, Brighton Villa. a very difficult game to call this one with the new manager. Beforehand, actually, I'd have said this was a target Villa. Brighton at home. They've got one of the best home records of seasons. They have won. I have written this down. This is how prepped I am. Half their games at home this season, they've only lost once, and they've actually managed to score 10 goals at home this season, which for Brighton is amazing. 1.5 goals a game is really good because
one of them can against Chelsea.
But it's one of the. It's very true, actually. Baz didn't even think about that. I just looked at the stats. Half of them came in one match. But yeah, and Villa's away record this season was pretty diabolical, and still is. They've got the equal worst away record with Forest and Wolves, only 2 points this season, 3 goals scored and 15 conceded. But under the new manager, it's very difficult. And normally, I'd have said Trossard, Gross, the usual suspects for Brighton. But anyone in this game, lads? Anyone that you picked out that you think might be worth a punt? Mr. Ramsey, maybe, after his performance? Anything like that?
Yeah, I was going to suggest Ramsey is 5.2 million, 0.9 owned. So he was one that I was looking at. He looked really good against Man United. He was getting into position. He was getting that little pocket space like Coutinho was when Gerrard first started. He was picking up every second ball. He got drawn the foul for obviously Digna's goal. Also as well for Brighton, Japanese player like Matoma. He looked really good. He passed the eye test, as Mr. Williams keeps saying. It looked like everything was coming through him. Trossard was playing down centre, Matoma were on left, he was cutting in, he was doing loads of little bits and bobs around play. He was creating lots of stuff. And if I had to bring 2 players from that game, they would be the 2. And Matoma, 0.1% owned, 4.9 million.
Yeah.
So
Trossard's up to 7.1 now. Gross obviously 5.6, but they're 26.9% and 13.9% owned. McAllister's obviously 3.8%. But yeah, I'd agree with you. Matoma apparently looks good. I mean, Lallana rolled back the year, 64 minutes and a goal and an assist. 13 points. And from Villa, Bailey getting a goal. Ramsey looking good.
True.
In your opinion, Scott, anything to come through on there?
Oh, you throw a blanket over those kind of mid-range price midfielders, can't you, Bailey? And the others you've already said. I think it's one of those. I wouldn't be. Again, you've probably only got one free transfer this week, and you're going to be using it to get one of them, and you've probably already got one in. I wouldn't be taking. Going back to that, I wouldn't be taking any out because I think that's a nice fixture for any of them to play. But I wouldn't be sort of rushing to get them in. I'm not bothered about that. Fulham
United.
I think I'd be holding on to your Mitrovic's in this game. I don't trust Man United away from home, even though the record's probably not that bad. I don't know. It just says to me 4:30 Sunday TV, Fulham, small grounds, under the lights, good atmosphere. Be a bit annoyed after what happened against Man City last game before World Cup. Says to me a really good Fulham performance, and I can see Mitrovic. Do you know what? It's one of those games in it. Mitrovic is going to score 1 or 2 goals, or he's going to lose his head and get sent off. So I wouldn't be for me.
Sent off shot again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting. Are you taking Mitrovic out of this game? For me, I'm not against Man United at home.
It all depends on his fitness, doesn't it? But if he's fit, then probably not. No,
yeah.
Probably leaving him in.
I'm probably starting Pereira as well, if I'm honest, in my team.
It's interesting, right? So I listened to the first 15, 20 minutes of the United game on the radio. Great time, great bit of listening for a Man United fan that was. But Clinton Morrison basically called out Lisandro Martinez's character as a commentator. He said that he's arrogant and he believes his own hype, and that's why they conceded the second goal. Because he played a pass. I was quite taken aback by how cutting he was about someone's character. I think, obviously, Martinez for me has been one of our best signings and best players, and I think he's obviously not got where he is today, being 5'9", by not having a good character or a good attitude. So I was quite taken aback by that.
I think it's pretty harsh on Digne, because his free kick was amazing.
This is what I mean. It was a great goal, but Clinton Morrison, after fully was that goal was Lissandro Martinez's fault. Direct quote, and I just was, I don't know what you think about that.
It was his fault. It was his fault because his mistake led to it. But I wouldn't then be questioning his character. I'm a big Clinton Morrison fan. I think he speaks well when he's on Soccer Saturday and stuff. But I wouldn't be questioning sort of his character and his hype and all that. Just say it was his fault. He made an error, and that's what caused Luke Shaw to then foul Ramsey, and then Digne's popped an absolute worldie into the top corner.
Well, that's what I felt like it was. From my perspective, I agree. Actually, I don't mind listening to Clinton Morrison on Sky, but I was just really taken aback by how cutting and derogatory he was about a player. And obviously, as a United fan, I was a bit like, well, that was just way harsh. But anyway, yeah, I actually think United's defence looked pretty good recently.
You could argue why is for the Bailey goal, why is Lindelof right on the halfway line, followed Watkins all the way, and Casemiro hasn't come back to cover the empty void. So there's loads of, you can pick your teeth in Man United. Man United's defence was all over the place.
Well, the biggest mistake this week. Yeah, the biggest mistake this week. This was a Ten Hag error as a United fan. Ten Hag's fault. We lost that game. He started Donny van der Beek. I mean, you don't do that. You move Eriksen into a 10 and you start Fred in that game. You go into Villa Park. It's a new manager bounce. You've got to play. You've got to be combative in the centre of midfield. And he made a tactical error that cost us the match. So that is his fault from my perspective. But anyway, that was something that stuck out to me, which I was quite taken aback by. Because I kind of like listening to Clinton Morrison. I thought it went a bit too far. But yeah, I agree. Fulham assets, you're not taking them out this week, really. And United assets again, I'm not worried about them. You can go Ronaldo. Ronaldo's. I was going to say Ronaldo then. Ronaldo start up front. But Rashford is the guy you would go to if you're going to go for somebody from us attacking wise. Garnacho is probably going to start again, considering he started over Elanga this week. So he's cheap. You could put him in for a 1 week punt. You never know what's going to happen there. Luke Shaw, I think he's somebody who might get attacking returns, even though I wouldn't trust United's defence. So he's a longer shot. But yeah, go crazy. One of the midfielders probably is the best option there. Any thoughts on that one, Barry? United?
I actually think Fulham's going to win that game. Like what Scott was saying, it's obviously 4:30 under lights. I think Mitrovic. I think Ten Hag's going to probably put Maguire and Martinez at the back. So Mitrovic is going to potentially try and wind one of them two up if he does start. And I think Mitrovic will get his way if he does play. I think Pereira's playing really well as well behind him. Harrison Reed looks a complete midfielder, going up and down, up and down. He's kind of gone under the radar. And he's only at like 4.5 million, as well as like Pereira, but I wouldn't obviously get him in my team as a 1 week punt. But it's going to be a really good game. I think it could go either way, but I would back Fulham to win that game.
Well, we've played at Craven Cottage the last 4 times. We've won 2-1, 3-0, 3-1, 1-0. And then it was 5-0 the time before. So we've only, the last time we failed to win, that was 2010. So I think, personally, I think United win. But
you lose, mate. Sorry, you've lost.
But
take it.
But big but. I've been wrong about everything this year. I've been wrong about everything.
Oh, you had a great fantasy week. Don't be so hard on yourself.
So back Fulham, because these two have been a lot better than me this year. So that's the big tip. Ignore me. Go with these two. Yeah, Haaland captain, pretty obvious. Salah is the outside bet, and if you want to go for Harry Kane, any other thoughts on captaincy before we move on to our Barry Stokes feature that we've got set up for the end of this?
I think you go and City, Liverpool, Spurs. If you're not, you're an idiot and you need to delete your team.
Yeah, cool. Probably me then. I think it's going to be a Raheem Sterling away at Newcastle. That's what it's going to be for me. Why not? Might as well lose it all. Barry, the England squad. Not that you care, but you do care because we play you. But we do play on the 29th of November. So the England squad gets announced on Thursday prior to game week 16, as we thought. We thought we'd do a nice little feature on who would make the England squad based on their FPL points. Over to you, Barry.
So, England squad. So, starting 11, I've gone for obviously the formation. I got absolutely criticised because I picked 4-2-3-1 instead of 5-2-2-1. But hey, so Pope will be in goal. Then you'd have Dan Burn at left back. You'd have White and Ben Mee and Cody at centre backs. Trippier at right back, as we kind of gathered that one anyway. And then obviously I haven't gone holding because obviously the holding people ain't got points. But if you did buy points wise, you'd have Eze and Maddison in midfield. Then you'd have Foden, Saka behind Kane. But obviously you wouldn't have them two anyway, so it would probably be Dewsbury, Hall and Ramsey would be your two holding, but they kind of a bit of a box to box.
Don't mind
it. Quite exciting.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many surprises there, is there? Obviously, take out the holding midfielders and whatever, because we didn't really chat. I think your only surprise there is Dan Burn.
Yeah. I think interestingly as well, Foden, Kane and Saka could quite literally be our front three.
Yeah, I think they will be. Yeah.
So, because Raheem Sterling shouldn't start.
He shouldn't start, no.
But, for some reason, he gets in the team stuff.
I don't think he should go.
Well, you don't get to say you're Welsh.
I know, but I don't think he should go, to be honest. He hasn't looked good in Chelsea. But yeah, Johnson obviously he did, yeah. He's still not 100% fit though, but he's still been
100% fit for about 4 years, mate.
I know he hasn't. No, he has been 100% fit for golf though. So yeah. You want to know the full squad?
I'd love to, mate.
Hit us with it.
So the two other goals apart from Pope would be Henderson and Pickford. Yeah, backup left back would be Rico Henry. Right back would be Justin. Then you'd have Eric Dyer and Kilman in defence. Then you'd have obviously Dewsbury, Hall and Ramsey, as I mentioned, and Tavernier, Rashford, Barnes, and then your forwards Tony, Wilson, and Solanke.
That's so interesting, isn't it? You could probably hardly any of them will be going. That's just really interesting, isn't it? Like the difference it's not really a conversation about those that start in 11 so much. It is more the ones in the squad, isn't it? And going on form, we're probably not going to take any of them, hardly any of them.
Yeah. It is true.
Dyer is probably going to be the only one that's probably going to be go out of the backups there that I picked, and Pickford is obviously starting goal.
Yeah, starting.
That's for sure. But no, thanks, Barry. That was quite interesting. And it's interesting to see who's going to be there and who's not. One thing that just else to cover off before we wrap up this week, just the schedule. So game week 16 happens this weekend. Game week 17 starts on Boxing Day. So, like I said, just to reiterate, unlimited transfers. Just like you've got a wild card. It's like you've clicked the wild card button. That's the best way of describing it. From the deadline on game week 16 to game week 17. After that, you get another wild card to use during the rest of the season, just to clarify. We'll have a good look at what teams to pick before that deadline game for December 26th, game week 17. There is a League Cup fourth round on December 20th. So straight after the World Cup, so the League Cup fourth round is then. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Premier League fit in the games that need rearranging moving forward. So I think there'll be a lot of coverage on that on the podcast when we get more information about it. But yeah, I think it's been really quite nice not having to even consider that. We've got this really nice break in the middle where we get to then reset our teams. So it'll be really interesting to see how much information we've got before the game week 17 deadline, December 26th. But just to reiterate, it looks like the doubles are going to be beginning and end of April or in May. So quite a long way away. So don't let it concern yourself. Boys, thank you very much for joining us. We said we're going to do half an hour. I think we've done an hour. But
shock.
I know. We can't. I can't help myself. Just talk for talk for England or Wales, Baz. But thanks ever so much for joining us today, Barry. Thanks very much, Scott. Enjoy your trip to Las Vegas, and we'll catch up upon your return. Thank you ever so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our platforms where you get your content from: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. We got some downloads from as well. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, just if Michael, if you're in Vegas, because there's a shout, and we'll go for a drink.
What a great shout by you! What a brilliant call. Yes, Picard. Apologies, I won't be there if you do make it. But that's why you have 2 kids in 2 years. What a fool! And then your friends will go to Vegas. God, honestly. But follow us on our social platforms: Unput Pod, P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we will catch up with you at some point during the break. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.